Oh my goodness, look at these delicious sous vide beef short ribs cooked for 24 hours. Are you a sous vide enthusiast, or are you curious about the sous vide cooking method and what the big deal is? Well, hey, it's Jenna here from sipbitego, and today I'm going to share with you one of the recipes that I absolutely love. It's for beef short ribs, and sous vide beef short ribs are so indulgent. I know everyone goes straight for the steak, and I absolutely love sous vide steak. I can't get enough of it. I just had sous vide filet mignon last night, and it's absolutely incredible, but I gotta tell you, sous vide short ribs are so rich. That's really the only way I have to describe them. They're tender, they fall apart, and I've been so obsessed with making them lately, and I can't rave enough about how they literally just like fall off the bone that my husband's been calling them Jenna's melting sous vide short ribs. So today I'm here to share with you this tasty recipe I know that you'll love. And I just want to say hey, shout out to the Fissler SousPreme Multipot, which I have over here. I absolutely love working with the SousPreme Multipot. I also am a fan of just all different. I'm kind of like a sous vide machine connoisseur. I have so many sous vide stick machines, and I'm really getting into the sous vide multi-pot machines, and Fissler SousPreme is an awesome multi-pot machine, and I actually use them to make the recipe that you're gonna see today for my sous vide short ribs cooked for 24 hours. And a couple things that I like about using the machine versus using a sous vide stick for something that's such a long cook like sous vide short ribs is that you don't really have to worry about some of the things you might worry about when it comes to using a sous vide stick. So because it's in this beautiful container with a lid, you just put the water right inside there, and you don't have to worry about the water escaping, the condensation, the heat, the steam, whatever it is, coming out from the water that your food is cooking in. Because over 24 hours, a very long cook time, you might have to worry about the water escaping. So you don't have to worry about that because it comes with the lid and it keeps the temperature exactly where you want it. And then the second thing, right before I dive into the recipe, that I absolutely love about using a multi-pot is that I have granite countertops, and I absolutely love them. I based my whole kitchen around them. Like, I painted all the cabinets instead of replacing the cabinets because I just love my granite countertops so much. They're so pretty. So, but it's such a bummer because there is the possibility, if you're using just a regular sous vide container, like one of those clear plastic ones that you'll see me using in videos at sipbitego, that the container, you know, because it's sitting right on a countertop, it could actually crack natural stone countertop, and that would absolutely suck to have happen. So because the SousPreme comes in a little pot thing, there's no issue with that. So I would say if you're using a sous vide stick for this recipe, that's a 24-hour cooking recipe, make sure to put a cutting board under your sous vide bath, because you don't want anything to happen to your beautiful countertops, especially because this is kind of a higher temperature sous vide recipe. So without further ado, I'm gonna hop right into it, walk you through step by step how to make Jenna's melting sous vide beef short ribs recipe. And then I also have Chef Hubs. He's kind of like gutting on this with me because I told him he's the sauce man. Like, we can be double tasking if we're trying to like finish a recipe during the baby's nap or something, and I can be like doing all the finishing touches, and then he'll go over on the sauces. So he's gonna join, and he's gonna do some sauces that you're gonna see in this video as well. So without further ado, let's get right into the beef short rib recipe so you can make your own delicious sous vide short ribs right at home. Let's do it. To prepare short ribs for sous vide cooking, you're going to use a fork to mix together a few ingredients. So you're going to mix together butter, olive oil, diced shallots, salt, and pepper. This all is a really very flavorful mix, and together you coat the short ribs with this seasoned paste. Now there's really no right or wrong way to get the buttery olive oil seasoned paste onto the sous vide short ribs before you saute them. But the best part with the SousPreme machine is that when you're using the Fissler Multipot, you can actually saute them right in the same vessel. So it kind of makes it like a one-pot wonder, whereas if you were going to use a sous vide stick machine, you would have to get a pan hot on the stove to do the sauteing for this recipe. So all you do is add a tablespoon of olive oil to the multi-cooker or to the pan on the stove and sear the short ribs for a few minutes until browned on all sides. That butter is gonna smell so good, as it is cooking in there. You're gonna be dying to eat these sous vide short ribs, but you still have an hour, not an hour, a whole entire day cook time that'll really make it worth it when they're falling apart and tender. So when they're completely browned on all sides, it's time to just take them off of the hot surface so they stop cooking. And then you can prepare your sous vide bath water, and you can also bag up the ingredients so they're ready to drop in the sous vide bath. And can we just take one moment to thoroughly enjoy this bubbly, delicious butter? Oh my goodness, this little last one would not come out because it was so hot and slippery in there, but oh my goodness, you can't even imagine how good this flavor is. So because I was working with the SousPreme Multipot, I took out the pot, I just gave it a little wash, and then I filled it with water and put it back in the SousPreme multi-cooker so I could then go on to the sous vide step. And I recommend that you use really hot water when you're filling the water bucket because then they'll heat up to the sous vide temperature even faster. So to set the SousPreme Multipot to the correct time and temperature for sous vide beef short ribs, you need to adjust the temperature all the way up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a pretty high temp for sous vide short ribs, but it's going to help them cook so they're getting that melting, fall off the bone quality. And then you want to adjust the pot to cook for 24 hours. I like that I could just set this all in the SousPreme machine to start with, and then I could go bag my food and get it prepared. I like the way you sous vide it, no diggity. Like to bag it up. I really look for any opportunity to sing that ridiculous cover of that song, No Diggity. All right, so let's bag up the sous vide short ribs that we already sauteed. And as you're gonna see, they could go inside a Ziploc bag. That's not a problem at all. Just pop them in there and use a water displacement method, which means as you lower them down into the sous vide cooking, you let the air come out so they don't float. Or you can do what I like to do because I just love the way beautiful vacuum sealed food looks, and you could vacuum seal the sous vide short ribs. So arrange seasoned short ribs and rosemary sprigs in 2 or more vacuum seal bags. Here I'm just doing a half batch, so I'm just using 1 bag, which perfectly fit 3 and could handle probably 4 or 5 sous vide short ribs. This is definitely an easy meal prep sous vide recipe. You could do a little sous vide meal prep by getting a whole big bulk order of sous vide short ribs and then preparing them with all the seasonings and everything. And instead of putting them in the sous vide bath, you just stick them in your fridge or freezer to sous vide later. So really, everything I did only takes a very quick amount of time, but because I'm explaining it to you with all the detail, it's taking a little bit longer, but believe it or not, it is time to sous vide. So into the Fissler SousPreme will the sous vide short ribs go, and they're going to cook for 24 hours. Now, something important to note here is that, like I said, you're going to want to make sure the sous vide bath is covered. So if you're using a regular stick machine and you're putting it in a vessel, you're going to want to make sure that that plastic bin or whatever you're using to sous vide it is covered, maybe with some tin foil. But if you notice here, the SousPreme Multipot comes with a lid, so you just have to make sure the dial on that lid is set to release, which means it's going to help release some of the steam, but it's going to actually lock a lot of that steam inside the sous vide bath as it cooks. And for a whole 24-hour cook, I did not have to refill the water once, whereas sometimes with a sous vide stick, I will have to refill the water. So about halfway through the cook, at the 13-hour and 36-minute mark, I checked on the water level but had nothing to replace. And then I checked again at the 4-hour, 34-minute mark, and again, there was no water to replace. So the whole entire time, I didn't have to refill the water, which is definitely a perk when it comes to using a multi-pot with a lid, or to using a lid or a cover over your stick setup. So anyways, then it was time to get the short ribs out of the bag and make the sauce. Now what you can't tell from the video is that my house was smelling so delicious because of all those shallots and rosemary that were in there. Look at that delicious juice! Yum! Now, these sous vide beef short ribs have so much juice in them and in the bag that you can definitely use, and you can either do that or you could use some beef stock, beef broth, whatever. You could even use chicken broth if that's all that you have to make this peppercorn sauce that I'm going to show you with the help of Chef Hubs. Want to cook the best things that sous vide cooking has to offer? Well, subscribe to the sipbitego YouTube channel so you're the first to know when new sous vide recipes come out. I have so many tasty things coming your way, like sous vide corn on the cob. Okay, now are you ready for a delicious sauce? I absolutely love the perfect sauce pairing with the perfect meal, and sous vide cooking is really great for utilizing sauces because usually there's leftover juice in the bag that you can transform into a delicious sauce. And if for some reason you don't want to hassle with the juice left over in the bag, or if you want to get a head start on making the sauce and you don't want to wait for the meal to finish cooking in the sous vide bath, you could always use like beef stock, beef broth. You could even use chicken broth if you wanted to, just to make the sauce on the side so you pair it kind of perfectly. But now I'm going to walk you through with the help of Chef Hubs and show you how to make the perfect peppercorn sauce for sous vide beef short ribs. And this is so delicious, I could literally like lick the spoon of this peppercorn sauce. Let's do it. So it's like basically my Chef Hub's signature move to put down a wet paper towel underneath the cutting board. He swears that it prevents the cutting board from slipping when you're cutting, and I will say I do find that to be pretty true. So that's a little handy tip from him. The sauce is made with a handful of ingredients, including diced shallots, butter, either a cup of juice from the cooked short ribs, or you can use beef stock like I mentioned, and then black peppercorns crushed. You could cheat here and do a little bit of just grinding with the pepper mill if you want, but it's always fun to get out a pan and crush those peppercorns. And then it also uses Dijon mustard, heavy cream, and some salt and pepper. This is definitely a good recipe to gather the ingredients ahead so you can very quickly work and make the sauce for the sous vide short ribs. How nice is my husband for helping me with this sauce? Look at this. He even knows how I want everything like displayed on the cutting board. It's kind of funny around here when it's a filming day. So even though we moved almost a year ago, we haven't been able to find a couple of our kitchen items. So he was trying to figure out how to grind the peppercorns the best. And what we settled on is that it's better to put the peppercorns in a Ziploc bag and smash them with a little cast iron skillet to get them crushed. Although we totally should have just used a pepper mill and grinded them, but we wanted that real crushed, coarse type of sauce, I guess. I don't know. We were just playing around in the kitchen. So once the short ribs finish cooking, remove them from the bag and move them to a plate. You can cover them with foil to keep them warm and preserve the sous vide short rib juice to make the sauce. So to utilize the leftover beef juice, strain the juice from the vacuum sealed bag over a bowl with a sieve. Alternatively, you can make the sauce using beef stock. So to make the sauce, you can actually do this step inside the Fissler SousPreme Multi-Cooker by using the sauté button. Alternatively, you can make the sauce in a pan on the stove on medium heat. So first, melt the butter and then add in and whisk together the strained juice from the cooked short ribs or beef broth or stock if that's what you're using, with the mustard, heavy cream, and peppercorns. Stir regularly as sauce thickens for about 5 to 10 minutes, and you know it's ready when the sauce turns light brown and it's basically the consistency that is thick enough to coat the back of a spoon. This is definitely one of my favorite recipes for using the leftover beef juice after sous vide cooking. There's always so much great flavor that comes from that, especially when you're sous videing short ribs in rosemary and shallots and all the good tasty things that were in the bag with it. So look at this beautiful consistency of the peppercorn sauce. It really is quite beautiful. I don't find it overpowering at all the peppercorns that went in there. It really kind of melts nicely once it gets mixed with that Dijon mustard and the cream. And ooh, doesn't that look so good? Well, we're almost done. Once the sauce is done, then you want to quickly remove it from the heat, and it's time to pour the sauce on the short ribs and serve with a sprinkle of fresh parsley. You have no idea how delicious these short ribs are, and I'm so excited for you to try them yourself. Alright, now you definitely need to check out this close-up. Look how good that looks. Just even a little drizzle of that peppercorn sauce with the mustard and cream mixed in tastes so good. Okay, so then you just are ready to use a fork to pull this apart. I mean, the knife doesn't even need to be part of what you're serving sous vide beef short ribs with, because these are my melting sous vide short ribs and they're just gonna come right apart onto the fork. It's like the richest flavor sous vide short ribs or sous vide ribs that you've ever tried. These are tremendously blowing anything out of the water, like even short ribs in the crock pot or any other slow cook short ribs. These are definitely my go-to. I mean, look at this one. It didn't even make it out of the bag in one piece, and that's completely acceptable in my book. So, so, so good. And there it is, pulled apart with a fork. Yum! I have so many tasty sous vide recipes coming your way. Don't forget to subscribe to the sipbitego channel on YouTube to be the first to know when new sous vide recipe videos come out. I'm making delicious things like lemon chicken sous vide style that I want to show you how to make. Want more delicious recipes? Don't forget to grab a free copy of my Sous Vide Beginners recipe book. If you think sous vide steak is delicious, wait till you try sous vide lobster wings, corn, and more. It's like a mini preview of my popular print book, The Home Chef Sous Vide Cookbook, which has 100 more recipes for serious sous vide enthusiasts. You can pick up the Home Chef Sous Vide Cookbook at Amazon, or you can check out the Sous Vide Beginner's Guide at freesousvidebook.com. Well, I'm so excited that I was able to bring you this sous vide short ribs recipe. Thanks so much to the Fissler SousPreme people, and I absolutely love having this sous vide machine in my repertoire. I think I'm French Canadian, but like the words just don't roll off my tongue. So anyways, I love having this as part of my cooking arsenal, if you will. And I really love the multi-pot feature having the sous vide function. The button is right here, and it's so easy to set. And like I said before, I love that it has this cover. And all you have to remember is when you put the cover on, if you're used to using a sous vide or a multi-pot, you have to make sure that you just set it to release. There's a little valve here that you can set to release or seal, and this has to be on release so the steam, the pressure can come out of the machine while you're cooking your sous vide food, but it locks in all of the heat in there. So anyways, I definitely think you should check this out if you're looking for an additional sous vide machine. You won't believe how insanely well priced these are. I mean, considering that you could get rid of a couple other machines if you just get all of your sous vide function in with the pressure cooking function and all that, you could save some room in your cabinet space. But I don't know, they just have so many other things that you can do here. Steam, slow cooking. To make the ribs, I sauteed them in here first before putting them in the bag. So there's just really so much that you can do there. Oh, rice is definitely one of my favorite things to make in the multi-pot. So you could do like rice in here. You could do your sous vide short ribs in here. Then you could take like just 10 minutes and make some sous vide asparagus. And that's like a complete meal. So I have recipes for all of those sous vide recipes at sipbitego.com and here at the sipbitego YouTube channel. And another thing that might be kind of overlooked when you're shopping for a sous vide machine, whether it's your first one or if you want to get a couple extras so you can sous vide different ingredients at different times and temperatures and have the meal come out at the same time, is that some of them don't actually keep the temperature super accurate, but the Fissler machine will keep it within 1 to 2 degrees over 24-hour cooking time. And because it comes with the lid, you don't have to worry about fiddling around with like foil or other things. You've probably seen me like hack in some of my sous vide recipe videos. The lid is going to keep all of the liquid in there pretty much, and you're not going to have to worry about too much liquid escaping because you want to make sure the food is fully cooking under the water the entire time. That's sous vide cooking. So anyways, thank you again so much to Fissler. It's really been an honor to be part of sharing this machine with more people, and just any excuse to sous vide another recipe to me is a good day. So until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful and delicious day. Cheers! There are so many delicious other videos to check out on the sipbitego YouTube channel and at sipbitego.com.